No matter how hard the situation is, one piece of emotional support may be enough to keep one's spirits up. Let me tell you about an incident that made me think so. I was born and raised in a reasonably urban local city. I job hunted in my hometown as a matter of course, with no particular reason in mind as to where I wanted to work. As a result, I simply joined a company that accepted me as a new graduate. I thought it was natural to work after graduating from university. However, only 6 months after I started working, I was transferred to a place about an hour and a half away by plane. I was told that I would be an opening member of a new company, but in other words, I was being transferred to a new position. I worked diligently in my own way, but my sales performance was always at the bottom of the list. In addition, I didn't get along well with other people, and I was a bit of a pariah. The existence of the new company had been talked about for some time, and although they had asked for people who wanted to be transferred, no one wanted to be transferred, and the atmosphere was such that it was like a battle of wits. But I didn't mind so much. The only thing that made my heart take a little was the fact that my parents seemed sad to hear that I was moving so far away. But other than that, there was no particular reason why I didn't want to transfer. I didn't have many friends to begin with, and even the few friends I did have I would see when I went back home. So I left my hometown where I was born and raised for 23 years to live in a country town far away from home. Even though it is a country town, there are at least some commercial facilities and a few restaurants. There is a supermarket within walking distance, and I had few problems. However, I think that the work environment has become overwhelmingly worse than before my transfer. Why? Because I was being bullied. There was no one I could say I got along with at my previous workplace, and there were times when I was forced to do my work. However, no one was ever blatantly mean to me, and no one ever went out of their way to say hurtful things to me. But after I came to my current workplace, the first thing they did was to laugh at me.
Are we all in for a drink today?
I heard one co-worker's voice as his boss excused himself from his seat, but I honestly thought in my heart that I didn't hear that talk. But then,
Well, all 13 of us should attend.
I realized there are 14 colleagues in this office, including me. I was not among the 13. After all, I was not invited that day, and a picture taken with all the members except me was sent to a group message that included me. And then,
I forgot Sam exists. He's so overshadowed.
it's an everyday occurrence. At first, I accepted these words with open arms. However, after being told the same thing over and over again, I realized that it was on purpose. I had never experienced this kind of bullying even when I was a student, as if I were an adult. Of course, it was wrong to be a child, but I never understood why they would do this. But I didn't have the courage to speak out or to quit the company. That day at work, I felt small in my shoulders. I was working in my own seat, but a colleague bumped into me and told me I was in his way. I felt ashamed that I could only apologize when I was treated unreasonably. After all, I was forced to continue working, and it was past 11 o'clock when I left the office. As I left the company with heavy steps, I heard this voice behind me. "Young man." It was an old man's voice that I could easily recognize, and it did not sound like he was really calling for his brother. Moreover, it sounded like it was coming from right behind me. I turned around and saw an old man dressed like a so-called homeless man. I was a little nervous, though, because it was the first time I had ever had a conversation with such a person. "Yes, I say give me $1, brother." The old man said he was a slender man, and he might be in need of something to eat. Thinking so, I took out my wallet from my bag and gladly handed it to the old man. "Is this all right?" The old man's hand was so thin that I became worried. I was not sure if I should give him a large sum of money, but I tried to hand him a $10 bill, hoping that I could at least be of help. But the old man said, "I'm sorry, but I can't help you. Yeah, 100 yen is fine." "I'm sorry, I don't have change." "Well, I'm sorry. I'll just take it as a token of your gratitude." "Thank you, kind young man." Well, but the old man did not accept the money after all and walked away somewhere. Weird old man. Left behind. I was stunned by the sudden turn of events. But, thank you. I would have thought nothing of these words before, as if they were a matter of course, but I think I heard them for the first time since I came here after being left behind. I had never thought that this one word could be so heartwarming. For the first time in a long time, I felt as if my existence had been acknowledged, and my steps felt lighter than before. 3 days later,
Young man,
when I was about to leave, I heard that voice from behind me again. When I turned around, I saw that old man. He said,
give me $1.
The old man was as skinny as ever, so I handed him a $1 bill, but he still wouldn't accept more money. And just like the last time we met,
I am glad to meet such a kind-hearted young man like you.
I was so happy to hear his words that I was able to smile for the first time in a long time. On my way home the next day, I found myself looking for that old man. The next day and the day after that, I looked back at the place where I always met him, but I couldn't find him. But after about a week, I was finally able to see him. This time, I called out to him before he called me young man. Old man. Then the old man smiled.
Oh, it's been a long time.
I was so happy that he remembered me that I handed him a $1 bill before he said anything else. I was so happy that he remembered me that I handed him a 100 yen coin before he said anything else. I asked him to buy something with it, but I knew he wouldn't accept it, so I didn't try to give him any more. Then the old man said,
why are you being so nice to a complete stranger, an old man?
I didn't understand either, but after thinking about it for a while, I decided to tell him how I honestly felt. At first, I was somewhat worried. I thought you were in trouble because you were so skinny and didn't have anything to eat. But now, to be honest, it's a little different. I am happy that someone is smiling and talking to me. It's been a long time since someone said thank you. When I said that, I felt a strange sensation on my cheek.
Young man, are you crying?
That's not right. I shouldn't have felt sad at that moment, but for some reason I couldn't stop the tears from falling out of my eyes. Then I found myself telling the old man my story, how I had lived my life, how I had been pushed to the left, and how I had become the target of bullying. I had never told my parents because I didn't want them to worry about me, and I was somewhat too proud to talk to my friends about it. Maybe I was able to talk so frankly to the old man because he was a total stranger. As I cried and talked, he just listened to me. I think that was the most comforting thing for me. After I had finished talking a lot, I felt embarrassed, so the old man said to me,
I'm sorry, but I don't know what to do. I will return this $1 to you today.
I was surprised. What? Please take it. I would rather pay you more for listening to me, I replied. But the old man held a $1 bill in his hand with a thin hand. He then said,
well, I'll see you again with this. Then, please come see me again with this. That's the best way for the old man to thank you.
He said, okay, I will definitely come. Thank you, I replied, and began to look forward to the next day when I would be able to see the old man at work. I had to endure the bullying every day and just go about my work day after day. But the old man's presence was the only place where I could be at work. Even though my job was still the same and the work was still hard, he was my only hope for life. But the old man didn't show up the next day, and the next day after that. He had always been a person who showed up irregularly, so I had always thought that was the way it was. But when I didn't see him for a month, I was a little worried that I would never see him again. However, I believed that I would see him again because we had made a promise. Nearly 2 months later, I saw the old man standing there without an umbrella, even though it was raining that day. I was so surprised to see him that I rushed up to him.
Oh, young man.
The old man noticed me and waved his hand happily. I was happy too, but first of all, I was worried about the old man who looked weak and was standing there soaking in the rain. He was still thin, but he looked more painful to stand than before. Are you all right? I held an umbrella over the old man and asked him.
Yes, of course I'm fine.
Grandpa laughed and said, yes, of course I'm fine. Then I handed him that 100 yen coin. I was looking forward to meeting you. I said, I was looking forward to meeting you.
Me too. Thank you so much.
and he laughed at me. But then I heard a familiar laugh from behind me.
Bust, you're friends with a homeless guy who's too busy talking to you.
It was a coworker who was always mean to me. And then there was the female employee next door.
Stop getting involved. Let's go.
She doesn't do anything directly, but I think she's one of the people who don't like me.
Wait. It's too funny. I'll take a picture.
My colleague said and pointed his phone camera at me and the old man. I usually don't say anything back, but I just couldn't let that act go. I understand that they don't like my inability to do my job. What did your grandfather do to you? Hey, stop it. Just as I was about to say that, an unexpected person appeared from behind me.
Chairman, you were here.
The person who appeared saying that was Mr. Charles, an executive who had visited the company several times. Although he is not usually at the company, my colleagues and I are familiar with the executive's face. So it was natural for me to be nervous, but I don't think that was the only reason why my colleague froze with a surprised look on his face. I was surprised that I was surprised too. Why? Because the person Mr. Charles called the chairman of the board is the old man in front of me.
The chairman?
I could not understand what was happening. I didn't understand what was going on, but I could at least guess what kind of person Mr. Charles, the executive, was calling the chairman of the board.
It's not good for your health. So let's go back to the hospital right away.
When Mr. Charles said this to the old man, he said,
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you're going to get sick. I really wanted to see him.
Then Mr. Charles said,
Then let's ask him to come too.
And led me to a luxury car parked nearby. My colleague looked at me in amazement, but I had no time at all to pay attention to him. I was too busy trying to sort out the situation surrounding me. And when I saw the old man gasping for breath even after sitting in the back seat of the car, I knew he was not in good shape. Mr. Charles said it was too much for him. I became more and more worried when I thought about the fact that he was drenched in the rain. After driving for a while, the old man fell asleep, and Charles explained the situation to me. He is the chairman of the company. In other words, he is the most important person in this company. He started the company by himself, and now it is so big that it has a local branch office. However, he has always been concerned about the fact that he could no longer watch over the employees himself due to the negative effects of the company's growth. Still, until about 3 years before I joined the company, he had been making the rounds of the regional branches on his own. However, he had a serious illness, and this has not been possible for the past few years. Recently, however, after he was told that he had little time left to live, he started sneaking out of the hospital on his own accord. Given that he was in front of the company, I thought he just wanted to see the humanity of the employees under the guise of pretending to be homeless and wanting $100. I had assumed that the old man was completely homeless, so I never realized that he had such a reason. Then I arrived at the hospital and finally got to talk to my grandfather in his hospital room. Old man, Mr. Chairman, I called him back.
It's okay. I'm like your grandfather. Please talk to me the same as before.
I was a little nervous, but made an effort to speak in my usual tone. Then Grandpa said,
I am really sorry for deceiving you until now.
He said,
I am very sorry.
No, deceiving me. I don't think that way. Of course I was surprised, but I genuinely think his heart is amazing that he is willing to see how his employees are doing with his own feet to improve his company. And this, despite the fact that he is in such poor physical condition that he has been told he has a life expectancy. That was almost all I could think about at the time. I couldn't believe that my grandfather was going to die soon. I was so sad and lonely that my heart felt crushed. Then, perhaps sensing this, Grandpa told me something like this in an even gentler tone than usual. He said,
I've always wanted to meet a young man like you. A man who doesn't think about his own gain or loss, who doesn't judge others by their appearance, and who has compassion for others. But to be honest, I never thought I would meet you.
What? I didn't think I was the kind of person that someone would want to meet. I had never thought of myself as anything more than an ordinary person.
But I didn't start this company because I wanted to be successful. I had a very bad experience at my old company. I couldn't take it anymore, so I ran out of the company and went to a bridge nearby. I thought, this is the end of my life. But then I thought to myself, I'd rather do something with my life than end it. I thought, if I'm going to end my life, I might as well start my life over. Then I decided to quit my job and start my own company. If I could do that every day, I would be happy. It was with this thought in mind that I started the company. And then I found that there were many people around me who shared that feeling. Since then, I have been blessed with the people around me.
He looked so happy, and I felt happy that he was able to make his wish come true.
That's why. But after all, the bigger the company gets, the more people who don't care about others come out. It's sad that there are employees like the one you just mentioned.
By just now, he was probably referring to a coworker. Perhaps my current internal workplace is not the way the old man wanted it to be.
So I no longer want an old man like me, but someone who is still young and considerate to fulfill my wishes. That's what I wanted, to meet someone like that.
The old man said with a stern look on his face after he had told such a story.
Are you interested in following in my footsteps?
I had no idea what he was talking about and could not respond immediately. You mean me? What do you mean my footsteps? What do you mean? I was puzzled, but Mr. Charles clearly put it into words and told me what he meant.
It is our intention to entrust you with the presidency of the company. What? Actually, the current president is the son of the chairman, but he recently became ill and it is difficult for him to continue his current job. Therefore, the chairman is supposed to select the next president, and it seems that he has decided on you. I know you are probably surprised by this sudden decision, but the fact is that the chairman has saved me from a difficult time. If the chairman approves of you, I am sure you will be the right person. I would also like to ask you for your help.
Oh no, I can't. I don't think I could ever do such a thing, even though I am still a newcomer to the workforce. And I've only known the old man for a few months, so to be entrusted with such a wish is a bit perplexing. I was about the same age as you when I started my own company. I didn't know anything about management or money. I have confidence in my ability to look at people. Will you please do me a favor for the last time, old man? The old man bowed his head to me. Charles, who had been watching closely and knew that he and the old man had a strong bond of trust, bowed to me as well.
Of course, I will take over the president's duties.
With such words, so that I would not be troubled. I don't think I, an ordinary employee among ordinary employees, can be the president, but I want to fulfill the wish of the old man who gave me the meaning of life. I think that thought is the only thing that gave me the courage to do so. I understand. If it's okay with me, please let me do my best. I replied. 5 years have passed since that day. The old man passed away 1 year after that day. The sadness still remains, but I am sure that by protecting this company that my grandfather loved in my own way, he will smile with joy from the sky. Believing this, I have no choice but to do my best as president in my own way. I have more things to learn from my employees than anything else, but I will do the work I love with the people I love, which is what the old man was aiming for. In order to increase the number of employees who feel this way, I try to visit the worksite directly and listen to what many people have to say. Perhaps it is because I had a hard time in the past that I find this job so rewarding. I will continue to strive to be a president like the old man, and I will continue to work hard so that as many people as possible can work comfortably.